Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Ask Abby. Thank you for joining us today. This week, we are talking more about cars. I know we talked a lot about cars last week, but thank you for joining us again. We have a new topic about cars, and there's the reason we're talking so much about cars and auto loans is because there's $1.8 trillion in auto loans in the US. So that's a lot of money, that's a lot of loans, that's a lot of people, right? So these kinds of things affect so many people. So if you missed our shows last week, we actually had two shows last week. One was about your options if you can't pay your car payment right now, and you've been affected financially in some way because of the coronavirus pandemic, there are options for you. So we talked a lot about the different lenders offering forbearance, and even car manufacturers are offering some options. Plus, we talked about manufacturers offering deals on new cars, which is what we're going to get into today. But before I do that, I'm going to put the links to last week's show in the comment bar. So the one I just put in there is your options if you can't pay your car payment right now. And then last Friday we had a featured show where we went live to talk about whether or not you should refinance your car. So there's a lot of things you should consider. While rates are low right now, there are a lot of different nitty-gritty things that go into a car refi. So we broke it down for you. If you're considering refinancing your car or you know someone that is, share this video, watch this video. We broke down every aspect of the refi process for you, what you should consider, and then the steps you take once you decide it's a good option for you. So today we are talking about how to avoid getting ripped off at the car dealership. So let's say you need a car, you have low or no credit, you have no down payment. So in theory, you might not be in the best situation to buy a car. That said, if you're trying to take advantage of the low interest rates we talked about last week, or maybe you have a consistent monthly income right now and you can actually afford a monthly car payment and you want to get in while the deals are good, make sure you know some of these bad habits to catch at bad car dealerships. It's important to know when to just turn the other direction and move on. There are so many used and new car dealerships out there. There's no reason that you can't just turn around and walk away if it's not a good deal. So we've got some tips out there for you today. And so that's what we're talking about. So there's certain tricks and tips that dealerships will play to get the best deal they can get. What we're going to talk about today is how you can get the best deal at a car dealership that you can get. So whether we're talking about interest rates, down payments, unnecessary warranties and service contracts, things like that. We've even had cases where people call in and they went to a small dealership and now they have a fraudulent loan. And we talked a little bit about that. Go to our Facebook page. We actually have a video of somebody who submitted a question about that, and our coaches can help you. So these contracts, the car buying process, it can get expensive and it can be confusing. So we're breaking it down. There's a couple of things you need to think about before you even walk into the dealership. And the first thing you should do if you're ready to buy a car is, and you know you're going to be financing, is know your credit score. Sometimes dealerships will pull up your credit score, show you a piece of paper, and your credit score is significantly lower than what you thought it was, and they do that often. So don't go in blind. Check your credit score with all three bureaus, the Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Check your credit score and make sure that you know what your credit score is before you even walk into the dealership. Your credit score plays a huge impact into the interest rate that you'll be getting. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that too. So the average interest rate for someone with a 300 to 500 credit score is 14 to 19%, and the average rate for someone with a 500 to 600 credit score is between 12 and 16%. So that's kind of high, but it's just important to know your high and your low for the range that you're in so that you're not surprised when dealerships are advertising low interest rates and yours doesn't come back as low. So know what you can get before you go in. The other thing you might want to do, and this is important because you can finance cars through dealerships, and we're going to talk about that, but you can know your budget beforehand and call your bank or a credit union and see what your options are for interest rates with financing outside of the dealership. That way, the ball is in your court. You can call your bank or credit union, know your budget, get your interest rate, see what that financing will look like, and you have a ballpark range for what you're going into that dealership like. And you can, say, this is what my financing is, so can you match it or do me one better? So those are super important things. Know your credit score and talk to somebody before you even go into a dealership to work with their finances, to get their financing. So there's a couple of other tips and tricks that you should be aware of. One of them is open recalls. So when you decide on the car that you're really interested in, make sure to look it up and make sure that there aren't any open recalls that haven't been addressed by the dealership. If there are open recalls and they're not addressed already, it might be a hint that the dealership is just not on target for the dealership you want to be working with. A couple of other things is the buy here, pay here option is not always a good deal. So if the actual dealership, if they're going to keep your financing, they're not going to sell the loan to some other bank, if they're going to hold on to their financing, they can write their own finance agreements and they'll come collect your car after one missed payment. Whereas most major credit unions and banks, national banks, are a little bit more lenient. We talked about that last week. If you're on the verge of getting your car repossessed, it usually takes between 90 and 120 days before they actually make a move to refinance or to repossess that car. So with a buy here, pay here dealership, they don't have to do that. They can come collect your car after one missed payment and they'll go sell your car to somebody else. So, and then you're still stuck with that payment. So make sure buy here, pay here, probably best not to go along with that. If you are sitting with your salesperson and they provide you with a price for the car that you're looking at, go online and check their online price. Most often, online deals are much better for on-lot prices. So you might be looking at a car on the lot that's priced higher as their initial starting point than their price online. That actually happened to me personally. So go online and look and make sure that you are at least starting your negotiations with the online price, the best tag price that the dealership is offering. That's a really big one. If you're trading in a car, use Kelley Blue Book or Edmunds to know your trade-in value before you even go in. Kelley Blue Book will give you the value for a private party sell or a trade-in value. So you'll usually get more for your used car if you sell it through a private party, meaning you put a for sale sign on the car in your driveway and somebody calls you and wants to buy the car. Usually that's the case. You'll get more money that way. But if you're trading in, you won't get as much, but it's important to know what your trade-in value is. They should at least meet the trade-in value on these sites. So those are really big ones. A lot of times, if you've never done a car deal with a dealership, they will do anything to rush you into making a purchase. Like we said at the beginning of this live, don't hesitate to walk away. There are a lot of other dealerships out there. As silly as it is, if you feel rushed, let them know you're going to get lunch, let them know you're going to go get a drink, and you'll be back, and chances are they'll slow down, they'll ask you to come back, or they'll ask you to wait, and they'll go at your pace. Don't be fooled into, if we make this deal what you just said, for example, you say, I'd like my car payment to be $300 a month, and they say, great, if we get you a $300 a month car payment, do we have a deal? Sign here. Don't fall for that. They'll make your car payment whatever you would like your car payment to be. So make sure that you see all of the breakdown of your finances before you sign anything. And don't feel rushed. That's a huge one. There are also, the last thing that we're going to talk about is warranties and service and maintenance contracts. Once you are in the finance office, you know what your car payment is going to look like. You've talked about your interest rate. You feel comfortable with all of that. They'll try to sell you warranties, paint and dent, service contracts, key replacements, gap, fabric protection, and these things can add thousands of dollars to the amount that you're financing, which can increase your car payment after you've already known what your car payment is going to be. If you sign up for some of these, you will increase your car payment significantly. It could be even by a couple $100s. So know that these warranties are not always a good deal. If you're buying a certified car, you don't necessarily need a warranty. Just understand what they are before you go in and decide if you do need gap insurance. Some people swear by gap insurance, some people don't like gap insurance. So just understand what your situation is. If you do need gap insurance, what that might look like. The other thing you can do is, if you decide to finance outside of the dealership, credit unions might offer you gap insurance for less rate. We talked about that last week. We had somebody come in who refinanced their car with a credit union and also was able to cancel their existing gap insurance policy, and move to one through the credit union and saved a couple $100s. So just make sure you are aware of these warranties, and a finance person might try to talk you into them, but just know what you need before you go in there and stand your ground. So those are kind of the big things. Make sure that you know your credit score, you know your budget, and you have an idea of what financing might look like before you walk into the dealership. That way you're not surprised by any numbers that they might present you with. Buy here, pay here dealerships are not necessarily the best way to go about it. There are dealerships and lenders and manufacturers out there right now working with people, and just make sure that you know what your budget is overall, not just your monthly payment, because they'll just extend the life of the loan so that you're paying more for the car over time to get that monthly payment. So usually around 60 months is a good loan term to stay within. So know your budget, know your financing options through outside of the dealership, and look for open recalls. Make sure that the dealership owns the title, and just use the internet when you're sitting in the dealership. Use the internet for online prices versus on lot prices, and then know your trade-in value on Kelley Blue Book. You can also look in the value of the car you're purchasing on Kelley Blue Book and Edmunds. That way you have a little bit of negotiating factor in that as well. So if you're in the market for a car and you have questions, please reach out to us, send me a video, or visit our website, creditanddebt.org. So you can chat with a coach about your budget and finances before you even commit to a monthly car payment. If you're not sure what you can afford because you've got this amount of debt, talk to one of our coaches first before you go in, and we can help you understand your financial situation and break it down. Please like and share this video so that your family and friends can get the same advice. You can also opt in to get notifications every time we go live. That way, next Wednesday at 12:30 Pacific, we'll go live again, but you'll just get a push notification right on your phone and you can tune in. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to tune in next week to our show for more on credit, debt, and financial advice.